Welcome to Inside Games Daily, the only gaming news show brave enough to feel just so old.
Oh, it's POD makes everyone feel young all the time, forever. Woo boy. What a trailer. Yeah, Helldivers 2 is coming to Xbox on August 26th and will feature some kind of integration with Halo 3 ODST because the 2000s are back.
I said this on my stream, but I'm going to say it again. I told you so. Somebody was like, what do you want in Helldivers crossover? I said ODST, and they said, they'll never do it. And here we are. Arrowhead Games announced this info in a trailer published this morning. It's more millennial bait than Happy Gilmore 2, which, by the way, not so bad.
I haven't seen it yet.
Not so bad.
There's some things I have to come to peace with about myself first, but yeah, after a like we said before, we get a full minute of just the most peak aughts Christian new metal there is from San Diego's own POD. After all that rocking, the trailer reveals an August 26th release date, and then one more cheeky little surprise.
The camera fades up on rainy streets set to a plaintive saxophone riff before a drop pod lands in the far distance.
The saxophone motif is unmistakably a reference to 2009's Halo 3 ODST, and specifically, thanks to YouTube comments for pointing it out, it's the track Deference for Darkness.
Oh, wow. Polygon's Michael McWhorter identified the drop pod as an, quote, M8900 single-occupant exo-atmospheric insertion vehicle, the preferred choice of Halo's ODSTs. But I mean, I guess we're not really seeing it a little bit.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to split hairs for no reason. I zoomed in, I enhanced, clicked on the 4K quality and all that, but the drop pod in the trailer doesn't really look like the one from the Halo wiki. It doesn't have the little bunny ear fins on top, unless maybe they fold down when the thing is like dropping down. Maybe that's it.
Huh, okay.
Doesn't matter. I'm just saying, I was looking for it, I didn't see it, but whatever, there you go. That's journalism.
This is all cool. Look, this is great. All right, I love it. But we don't really actually know what any of this means. It could be skins, guns. I'm assuming probably everything, all of those things put together, ODST, because that's usually what they do at Arrowhead and Helldivers 2. But who knows?
Yeah, there was that Killzone-ish war bond. I think we can expect something similar. Although this is kind of interesting, Polygon's McWhorter also pointed to an 8-month-old post from Helldivers 2 game director Johan Pilestedt, more generally addressing the topic of Helldivers brand collabs, but also might give us some idea of where they're going to go with this.
Yeah, a meme turned prophetic had Pilestedt literally drawing the line between Warhammer 40k, which is in bounds, and then Master Chief driven Halo out of bounds in deciding what's appropriate for the Helldivers universe. Now, this may have been before the Xbox talks.
Yeah, maybe, or he knew and was just drawing the line there. I like that the gradient is Killzone, most appropriate, to Snoop Dogg, least appropriate. You've got like Star Wars and Ninja Turtles along the way, but what's interesting that, yeah, ODST-driven Halo, not Master Chief, but just the ODST grunts, that's nestled right next to Starship Troopers on the safe side of the line, which, I mean, you had even said this before you started, Bruce, but it's just like, it's nearly the same thing already, so it makes total sense.
I mean, those helmets, like I have the helmet behind me, you can see it above my head. That is an ODST helmet that I have passed off as a Helldivers helmet for a very long time. Hold on.
Yeah, there you go. Is that John Helldiver?
Basically, yes.
Randall Democracy?
Yeah, it's a Helldiver and an ODST. It's both.
Well, I mean, yeah, and we were even commiserating about how it's kind of all downstream of James Cameron's Aliens, which did a treat on a lot of millennial creators. We love that movie. Oh, in addition to showing the gradient of collabs, Pilestedt also posted a presentation slide bullet pointing their collaboration tenets.
Yeah, it's filled with nice to hear stuff like avoid IP dilution and be as authentic as we can. And I truly do think that they really are being as authentic as they can. I have no problem with them taking money for crossovers, and especially these crossovers that make total sense.
Yeah, especially if they're video game crossovers. I have all the tolerance in the world for games integrating with other games, but when it gets to general entertainment brands, that's when it starts to feel a little, you know, it feels a little, you're just swiping the credit card, you're cashing the check. And yeah, those like integration tenants, those are very nice until the game is 10 years old and you're trying to squeeze as much money out of it as you can before it gets put out to pasture. So I don't know. You had mentioned that you have a bit of you got something banked up. You got some thoughts about this?
I do, but it's only in response to what you've already written, because Lawrence will usually write his thoughts in the script, and then it was funny because when I was reading Lawrence's thoughts, of course they are well thought out and they make a lot of sense. So when Lawrence talks about it, they make a lot of sense. I had sort of a reaction to it. I was like, oh, I could talk about it. So go ahead.
Gotcha. All right. So here's my off the dome riff. This combined with Battlefield 6's use of Limp Bizkit and recent statistics about Gen Z drop off in spending has me concerned that we are just on the kickoff of a millennial nostalgia trend. Because if millennials are the only ones spending on games, then they become the audience you choose to market to. And, just anecdotally, there's a lot of 90s stuff in Call of Duty these days. So I don't know. I'm a bit worried that even though I'm at the dead center of what this nostalgia wave might appeal to, I would rather it not do that. I mean, I was hoping it wouldn't be I feel like it's a period of stagnation, really. If we're throwing back to older games and referencing older brands, I wanted to see newer games from newer people that had lived through different lives and times and had a different raft of media influences that influence the games they create. So I don't know. I do think there's a lot of millennials that feel like they haven't been marketed to directly. There's kind of a whole creepy cult around that very notion. It's got a whole word and all that shit. It doesn't matter. What I saw is trying to appeal to a new generation. The diversity and inclusion was kind of the way that Megacorps thought they could appeal to Gen Z. It was pretty phony, and I think everybody was pretty appropriate for calling out, corpo attempts to be all lovey-dovey. It didn't go very well, though. Gen Z is now, they either don't have the money at all, or they're choosing not to spend it on games. I tend to believe it's the first one. So yeah, if they become an unmarketable audience, then suddenly they just drop out of consideration entirely. But I do think that the period of going through trying to market to them made a lot of millennial folks upset that they felt like they weren't they weren't the most special kid in class anymore. So if we're wrapping back around to those times, those people will probably be very happy. I'll probably be happy too, because there's still some fun games to dig out of the grave. But I don't know. I was hoping for more, newer, better stuff instead of just retreading all the popular brands of the aughts.
I agree with you all the way around on this too, because I do want to see new games from new people and new experiences. I really do. I think that Gen Z is releasing some new games that a lot of people are calling friend slop. But generally speaking, those are really young developers or single developers that are making these indie games that pop up and go viral, and then everybody shits on them. So I'm always like, isn't this what you want? This is totally what I want. I want to see new people making new things. That said, the consumer in me, the American consumer, I love to see anything that makes people happy. So everyone shits on Call of Duty for having the Terminator and Beavis Butthead. I love seeing those clips. I love it. And if people look, if Call of Duty is charging $30-$40 for skin, totally, that sucks. I hate it. But if they're whatever, $10, $5, they're reasonably priced, and people are having a hilarious time watching the Terminator choke out Beavis. Awesome. And it's the same with Helldivers. I think Helldivers 2 is actually a really good example of an amazing developer working very hard on a video game and making a new experience. Now they get to cash in. They get to cash in on ODST. They get to cash in on Star Wars and Warhammer. And I'm looking forward to it. I think they've made a great base game. And then when they get to cash in on those skins, fuck it. Yeah, whatever. I'll pay for those things. If it's I don't give a shit about ODST, by the way. I don't care at all. So if they release Star Wars skins, Lawrence, they've already got my money. They've already got that. Or Warhammer, oh my gosh, I'm already in. So it's one of those things where if it's going to make people happy, totally fine. I think maybe Lawrence's complaint, and mine too, is more the marketing to us, and really trying to appeal directly to us. And I don't like that feeling. I don't think millennials like that feeling. But if they're making cool stuff that actually makes sense in universe and stuff like that, totally fine with it. I'm fine with it. So it's I live right in the middle of this where I'm like, who cares about Terminator and Beavis and Butthead? But also, if there's one dude on the other side of this at Activision Blizzard who's we'll make $1 billion if we put Beavis and Butthead because these fuckers will pay for anything. I hate that shit. So I don't know. It's the in my head are two wolves, Lawrence.
Oh, I'm very familiar with that, and I like that you brought up the friend slop idea, because I genuinely enjoy those games too. Things like Peak or Repo, or I guess what is it, Lethal Company? Yeah. Those are super fun and kind of a new format. So there are good things out there. Expedition 33 is kind of the indie darling that's whooped everyone. So there are still new expressions coming from young, creative, and hungry developers. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'll just make it entirely personal. It's just me feeling old. POD is now classic rock. Somebody actually brought this up when I was kind of venting about Limp Bizkit and Battlefield, which is hilarious, by the way. But somebody brought up that, there are veterans now that were listening to Limp Bizkit while deployed. So it's like, it's their Creedence Clearwater Revival at this point. So, skeleton hitting the keyboard, that's kind of where I'm at. So that's kind of my reaction to this. But you're right. I'm still in that age range and it still works. And yeah, hearing the ODST riff inside of Helldivers, there's a superficial joy that I don't need to question myself out of having fun with.
That's right. I do worry though that Gen Z is spending less on video games, only because this is our industry and I love watching new people make new things, and that's how you inspire a new generation. Is they play a game and go, oh, I could make something like this. They're all stuck in Fortnite or Roblox, and I don't like that at all. It is cool, whatever. Fortnite and Roblox, you can make games within them, but they still contribute to that billion-dollar corporation that I'm like kind of worried about.
Yeah, ideally they will cultivate game creation skills that then move outside of those ecosystems and make a friend slap or what have you. So who's to say? Hey, if you're in Gen Z, POD is an interesting band. Maybe look into them. But thank you for watching this episode, even if you don't have the disposable income to buy every video game that we rave about. And especially thank you if you decide to take a look at our Patreon. We have patrons that support the show directly. I'd like to shout a couple of them out right now. They're the biggest POD fans you've ever heard of. Null Test and Spirit Bear, front row every show. Got all the band names tattooed on their neck. They're ready to go. When the Rapture hits, they're going to be right up there first in line with every member of POD. Checking their behind the stage pass with St. Peter. So thank you for supporting the show. And hey, if you haven't checked out the Patreon, check it out. I post a Deep Lawrence Select meme there every day. One hyper deep cut, raw, dank internet image to go along with the show. So it's also a good way to just see it all. We also have, this is something I never bring up, a notification server on Discord where I post the link every day. So I need to start putting that link in the description. It's just a little notification to go off if you want to watch our show. So that's what we got. Thank you very much, Null Test and Spirit Bear, and thank you for watching Inside Games.